Hi, welcome to this video on using the fantastic Storyblok as a content management solution for your FlutterFlow application. So what we're going to do in this one, we are going to create a project with inside Storyblok. We're going to set up our data structure. We're going to populate it with some test content. We're going to use Postman to test the API just to make sure it looks how we want it to. We're then going to set up a FlutterFlow to then connect to that API to then pull the detail down into our FlutterFlow application, and then we're going to display it with inside. So Storyblok is a great tool if you're looking for a way to kind of change content dynamically away from the FlutterFlow application using a nice visual editor. So yeah, please do enjoy, please do follow along, and yeah, let's get cracking and let's build a mobile app. Okay, so welcome to the homepage of Storyblok.com. So Storyblok is a headless CMS. It's used typically to serve dynamic content to websites. We're going to use it in a slightly different way, and we're going to use it to produce content for our mobile application. So Storyblok provides some great visual tools for us to do all of that kind of editing. We can hit publish, and then that content then can be available with inside our FlutterFlow application. So you could use this solution to create like news articles or some elements of dynamic content with inside your FlutterFlow application. It's all controlled within the system. It's a great tool. So we're going to crack on now. We're going to log in and we're going to start setting everything up that we need to serve our FlutterFlow application. So I'm going to log in. If you haven't already created an account, please do go ahead and do that. Right, this is the kind of the home screen to the dashboard. We're going to create a space. Typically, this is going to be like a project. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select new space, and the space we're going to call ours is News Manager. We're a server location in the EU, of course. Feel free to change that if there's something more local to you. So hit Create Space. So we're not going to worry too much about what this is telling us, and we're not interested in anything here. We want to move straight on and start creating the structure to the content that we would like to serve our application. Now, this is done in a particular way. The first thing that we need to do is choose Block Library on the left-hand side. So to get rid of any confusion, let's remove some items here that we're not really interested in, and I'll explain more about that in a second. So in Storyblok, everything starts as a page, and generally what you do is you can, we're only going to use a page today actually, but what you could do, you can actually create other sort of data elements that you would like to add to your page. So for example, inside your page, you might have like a nested region of related articles or something like that, where you can actually, inside Storyblok, create these other blocks that you can configure that captures that information that you can then add into your page. But what we're going to do is we're going to create an article page, and then what we'll do is we'll create many article pages which will have all of the information that we need, such as a title, category, headline, more content for the article. We're going to want a thumbnail, we're going to want a larger image. So let's do that right now. The first thing I'm going to do is rename this, because we don't want to call it page, we just want to go up to config, and we're going to want to call this article, because that's exactly what we are creating. Hit save. As you can see, it's successful. We're going to want to start creating our fields now. So we're going to choose fields, and in Storyblok, the way it works is that you put your field name here, like our title, you give it a type. So here you've got different types of fields, and the idea of this is that when you then start creating your content, what you then see on the screen reflects the type of sort of field that you're actually completing. So the first thing that we're going to do is have text selected. So we're going to create a title, we're going to hit add, and then we are going to then have a headline, which is going to be just a very small sort of title for our article. We're going to say this is a text area, hit add. We're then going to have a larger article, so we're going to just call this content, and we're going to choose a text area, hit add, and then we're also going to then have a category. Now, category is slightly different because that's actually going to be a series of options that's going to be presented to us. We're just going to want to choose one. So I'm going to choose single option. We'll change that in just a moment. Hit add, and then the next one we're going to have is a thumbnail, which will just be our little thumbnail image. That's of type asset, and then we're just going to then have a larger image called image. So let's choose that as an asset. Let's hit add. Blocks that we don't need, because we're not going with inside an article, we're not going to create a list of other types of content. So let's just delete blocks for the sort of the body option from there. Finally, we're just going to go into the category option, and we're just going to make a change to it because we're going to want to add some categories in here. So the first one I'm going to type in is technology, because it's one of the categories that we actually would like. And then I'm going to create a new option. Let's just say weather, for example, and then hit new option. And then here we'll just put general for now, just for good measure. So we're just going to make sure that all looking good. Yeah, save that. So if I now go back to here and close that down, we can see now that we've got our fields created. We have our article page, and that's pretty well much all that we need to do at this stage. The next step, we are going to go into the content, and we're going to start creating a location to store all of our articles. So let's move over to content, and we're going to create a brand new folder called articles. We don't need to change anything else other than this option down here, actually disable visual composer. So what we're going to want to do is when we're going to start creating our content, we're going to want to see a nice form. If we don't choose disable visual composer, then what we're going to see is kind of this web page that we don't really want to see. So let's just hit create. So there we go. We have our articles. We can go inside there, and this is where the fun happens now. We can start actually creating the articles themselves. So hit create new. We're going to go to a story because that's what Storyblok is. Everything here, we just need to put a title in. So we're gonna call this like iMac computer, and you'll see why in a second, because that's going to be the first article that I'm going to create. Now, just down here, the only thing we need to change is select article, because that's the content type that we would like to create. So just hit create. And then here we are, we're presented with this lovely form view. And as I said earlier, if we didn't disable the visual composer, then we would have seen this web page that we would have then had to switch into this view. I'd rather just see, whenever I create an article, I just want to see this every single time. So let's populate it with some content. I'm going to quickly do that, and then we're going to come back to save some time. Okay, so I've just populated with some sample data here. I've just gone onto the web, and I've just gone and looked at an article, and I just quickly copy and pasted a little bit of detail in to make it look a little bit more realistic. All I've done here is I selected a category from our list of options that we created. So I've just chose technology. One option we can do now with the thumbnails and the images, I use a fantastic website called unsplash.com where you can actually have royalty-free images. I just quickly done a search for iMac on here, and what I did is I pulled this picture down here, and what I did is I just downloaded a small version to use as the thumbnail, and then I chose a medium version just to use as a larger image. So you just might want to do that yourself if you're following along. So let's go back to News Manager. Let me just go to Add Asset, and I'm just going to upload the computer from my machine. So let me just quickly do that. So I've just selected those, just hit Upload. There we go, we have our small and our large. So I'm just going to choose small because that's the first one from our fields. So I'm just going to choose that. We've got small down there, and the image one, I'm just going to select the larger image, and we are pretty well much good to go. So if I just hit save, there it is. I can just go and click down here, and you can see here we've got our first article on the left hand side. Now, just to save time, we're going to want to create more than one. So I'm just going to duplicate that, and I'm just going to do this as a test title 2. Just hit duplicate, and then I'm just going to duplicate this again, test title 3, duplicate, and that's all we need to do at this particular stage. So pretty well much that's everything that we need at this particular stage in Storyblok. We are going to now move shortly over to a website called Postman, which is a fantastic online tool that will allow us to perform API requests, and we're going to use that tool to make a call into Storyblok's API that's going to return all of our articles, just so we can familiarize ourselves with the structure of the API response, because we're going to want to configure FlutterFlow to hook onto all of the elements that we need to be able to then populate our UI within inside FlutterFlow. So the final thing we're just going to do then in Storyblok, in the way that it works, is we're going to want to publish the content. So we're just going to push it all live. So I'm just going to go back here. Let's go back to the content, and I'm going to just select all of these here, and I'm just going to hit the publish option just here. So of course, by publishing it, it means that it's now going to be available to our API. Just one other little point of note that we need to do just before we disappear from here, we're going to need to grab our access token. So of course this access token has been automatically generated for me. We're going to want to copy that. So you might want to just copy that out at this particular stage before using Postman, because you're going to need that in a moment. So I'm just going to hit the copy option, and then we can use that with inside Postman. So right, let's familiarize ourselves there with the API, and we'll be right back in just a moment. So here we are, I'm logged into Postman. Of course, go to postman.com to create your own account. This is pretty well much a brand new sort of dashboard here for Postman. And I'm just going to simply just choose the plus option up here, because we're going to want to create a brand new request. Now with inside Storyblok, they have their own API. So we can use, there's lots of different APIs that served up via Storyblok, but there's one specific API that we need to call that's going to make a call into our articles folder that we created in Storyblok, and then return all of the articles with inside. And I can show you how that works. So I've pasted it in the URL of the API call that we're going to make, and as you can see here, we've got the website address there, which takes you up to stories, and then we've got the starts with, which is articles. That's going to be the folder that we're actually pulling our articles from, and then here we've got the token, and remember the token is what we had over on our page there. So this is the one that you're going to need. Pull that across into Postman, and you should be good to go. So I'm going to simply hit the send button now, and we should, by magic, hopefully see the information to all the stories that we've got. So let's have a look. Let's just bring that up. So let's have a look here. We should have 3. So there we go. So stories is the element name there that contains all of our articles. So we've got our test title 3. We've got the title, the content, the category, the headline. We've got the thumbnail information. We've got the location to where the actual thumbnail is going to be stored, and the same up here. We've got the large thumbnail here. So that's looking pretty good. I don't think there's anything more that we need to say. There is the publish stat. We're going to use this date stamp with inside our application. So that's really good, because we can actually then put the like a nice formatted date with inside our application. So other than that, I think that's pretty well much everything that we actually need here. We'll see the same output very shortly when we go into FlutterFlow, and then we set up our API, and then we get a preview. We should see exactly the same thing. If you don't see any content in there for whatever reason, it could well be that you just haven't published your content. You'd need to go back to content, make sure that you select the folder, or go into the articles themselves and select them all like we did earlier on, and then just hit the published option if you just forgot to do that. That's it. That's all we need to do now in Storyblok. Let's move our attention now over to FlutterFlow, and we'll start creating our application over there. See you in a sec. So here we are in FlutterFlow. So let's start building our UI for our mobile application. So let's hit the create new. We're going to create a brand new project called news articles, and let's hit create new. We're going to keep this as default. We're just going to turn off set up Firebase. We're not interested in Firebase in this project. Hit start building, and we're pretty well much there at the home page now of FlutterFlow, so we can start now working on our UI. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to want to add the API into FlutterFlow, so we can then invoke it to then pull down the data that we need for our articles. So we're going to head over to the API call section. We're going to hit on plus, and we're going to create an API call. We're going to give this API a name of articles, and then we're going to now need to pull in our API URL from Postman. So we're just going to literally just copy this header here, and we're just going to paste that into the API URL. We're going to hit add call, and we're going to do a quick test to make sure that things are looking pretty good. So the test the API call, and as you can see here, that's pretty well what we expect from the articles and from the example that we're seeing in Postman. So now that we've done that, well, let's move now over to the UI and start constructing the UI. So let's go to the UI builder. So let's begin. Let's create a list view first. So let's move a list view over into the column. And then with inside our list view, we now need to create some elements to show the article information. Instead of starting from scratch, we're going to use a FlutterFlow template. So I'm going to click on the little plus there. I'm going to find one here that I believe is suitable for what we need. So it's probably going to be one of the cards. So let's move down. Let's find one that we think is going to work for us. Let's have a look at this one here. Now that's good. So we've got an image here, we've got a main header, and we've got some copy there for our headline. I think that's good. We can probably add a few more rows in there as well, such as the category name and maybe a formatted date as well. So let's drag that over into the list view. Okay, we have everything that we need. We're just going to make some changes to our list view because what will end up happening is when we actually run the actual application, we'll start seeing the overflow where kind of the elements will just drop off the screen. We'll need to make a couple of changes. So we're just going to click on the list view here, and we're just going to change the expansion from what's selected there to not fill the space, and we're going to want to bring this right out. So that's going to go right down to the root of the UI there, right at the bottom. We also want to make some adjustments here to the main header, because at the moment, if our header is then too long, we're going to get some overflow errors here on the right hand side. So again, the simple way to solve that problem is by just doing the same thing over here and just selecting make the widget fill the space. So then when we get multiple lines, they'll just drop down below instead of overflowing just there. So that's perfect. We now need to configure our list view now to call the API. So let's choose the Backend query option, choose add Backend query, select the API call. We want to choose our articles and we want to confirm that. The next bit that we need to do is we need to generate the children. So just press on that. Now each of the articles is going to be called an article, so we need a variable, and we're just going to set the path to where the articles are in the API response. And so we need to choose articles response. Now down here, if you remember it in our API response, everything is under stories, so we're going to need to say $stories. And just to confirm that that is the case, if we go over to Postman, we can see here that we've got stories, and then within inside stories we have an array of all of our articles, and as we know that we've got 3 there. So we just need to make sure that we set $.stories in there, otherwise that when we actually run this in test mode, you'll see an error come up on the screen. So let's just confirm that and click confirm there, and you'll start to see the UI look like it's taking shape now. So pretty well much that is the construction of the main UI. We now just need to configure the actual text fields here to map to the right location within inside the API response that we got coming back. So just to remind ourselves then, the title within inside stories is located within inside content. So we're at the top level here, and then we've got content, and then within inside content we've then got some of our fields. So we've got the image there, we've got the title, we've got our thumbnail just down here. So we now need to reference content dot title in order to bring our title in. So let's just go here, choose main header, say set from variable. We want to say it's from the article item because that's the variable that we set earlier on. So we want to choose the JSON path, and here we're just going to say content dot title, like that. Hit confirm. We also now need to do the same as well for our headline text. We're going to say set from variable, we're going to say article item, we're going to choose JSON path, and we're going to say content dot headline. Hit confirm. So that's all that we need to do to configure those text-based fields. But what about the image that we've got there at the top? So we also need to do that as well. So we're just going to choose the image, and it's going to be a very, very similar setup to what we had before. We need to check in our API response what we're looking for. So we know that we've got, we're inside stories. We know we're inside content. Now we need to choose the thumbnail. So now we've got a thumbnail, but we need to go one deeper, and we need to pull the file name out. So it's going to be content.thumbnail.file name. Go back to here, set from variable, choose the article item. We need to do the JSON path, and we're going to choose content. Okay, and it's thumbnail dot file name. Let's get just spell thumbnail right. Thumbnail. There we go. Dot file name. That's all we need to do. Hit confirm. And that is pretty well much all that we need to do. So let's run this now up in the test mode, and let's see what the application looks like. So there you go, like magic. If you're following along, you should be seeing exactly the same as what we've got there. So we can make a few more adjustments to this. I think it would be worth actually creating another article just to make it so it's scrollable off the bottom. So let's go back to Storyblok. Let's go back into the articles here. Let's just duplicate an article and let's call this test title 4. Hit duplicate, and remember what we need to do is we need to select it, and then we actually need to publish it as well, because we need to make it available to the outside world. So let's go back to the test mode. Let's just do an instant reload, and we should see our 4th article appear. There we go. So we've now got everything that we need here. And just to prove that we can also make some content changes, so let's just go to article 4 and let's just change this to so MacBook Pro, something like that. Hit publish, go back into test mode, just do a reload again, and we should see our MacBook title change there from iMac to MacBook. Okay, so there you go. So let's just add a page title to the application just to make it feel like it's a little bit more like a news articles application. That's all that we need to do. Just go back to instant reload. There we go. And that should show us the output from that change. There we go, news articles. So I really hope you enjoyed watching this video on using Storyblok as a CMS into your FlutterFlow application. You can see how that you can shape up Storyblok to kind of serve up all of this additional content to your FlutterFlow application. Remember, Storyblok is absolutely free to use on their sort of like community tier, and it provides everything that you need in order to serve up content to your FlutterFlow application. Please do like and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be providing all these type of videos in the future for FlutterFlow and how to use these external services to kind of almost empower your applications to do so much more. Really enjoy putting them together, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for joining me.